She is not a superhero. She is not even a vigilante. She is a mercenary for hire. In the conflict between the Congressional Republic and the United Front, the Second American Civil War in 2017, becoming disillusioned, she is now independent, freelancing, owner of the Hammerhead Bar in what is called the last free city in what used to be the United States, Steel City. This is the story of Pamela Anderson, Tamura Morrison, 1996, Barb Wire. The internet alleges, like many things that were not popular at the time, that Barb Wire has a cult following, which is very, very difficult to believe. However, full disclosure, I never read any of the comic books, and I suppose if you were into those comics, you might find some more redeeming qualities from the film than I did. Now, there's nothing wrong with female action heroes. There's nothing wrong with female action heroes being presented as, well, with the intention of their being sexy. We saw this with Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, from the video game to the big screen with Angelina Jolie. But it's got to be plausible when you're running around in combat with your boobs almost slipping out, and this does not work. You can take these ladies and put them in a real sort of combat practical outfit and give us things that make it seemingly realistic, at least within the confines of a sane person's suspension of disbelief. Or you can go over the top and make it a cartoon. Barb Wire doesn't successfully do either of these things. Partially, I think this is that Pam Anderson can't apparently act. Everything she delivers in this movie fails to hit. It never feels funny enough, dramatic enough. It just feels like she's talking to you about the weather, but they put her in all of these outfits. They have her do these incredible things physically, or her stunt woman person, maybe not always a woman, the stunt people doing this stuff, and it just does not come out very plausible. The other big problem is a lot of dystopian sort of post-apocalyptic or post-conflict films set in the future. This one was meant to be the future. It is the past now, 2017. You have to create good and evil tension. You have to explain a little bit about how the world got to be the way it was and invent new, hopefully, terms and symbols for your new whatever movements that are awakening in the rubble. And again, Barb Wire does not do this. I did not read the comics. I can't say whether the comics did this. The film definitely does not. The Congressional Republic, we find nothing about what they stand for, what they believe in. They apparently love wearing vintage SS uniforms from World War II movies gone by, with the symbolism just slightly modified, just in case you missed the point that they are the generic baddie. But no description of what the conflict in America was about, what the Congressional Republic stands for, how things have changed or ought to change, or none of that sort of important. Everything revolves around our freedom fighter who became so disillusioned that she is now a mercenary. The really pathetic part is the failed plot points. When we meet Tamura Morrison, her ex-lover, we find out that he's a major reason for her disenfranchisement. When they fought for the United Front together, they were on a mission, and she held the helicopter waiting for him to come, and he promised he would be there. But finally, she had to leave, and he didn't show up. Yeah, that's it. She's so angry and livid with this guy for so long for not making it on time, hasn't spoken to him in years. She left freedom fighting and just owns a bar and is a complete cynic. And it's stupid and it's pathetic, and you can't help but shake the feeling there was a lot more going on, but we were never told. The dude tried to make it and couldn't make it. Something came up, like what in the world is going on here? But it even more makes it feel like Pam Anderson whining and complaining in her flat voice with her outfit with her boobs barely contained about little trivial things like a spoiled brat would in real life. It just does not. None of it works. Now, there's a lot of bits and pieces here, and I often say this about these. I love sci-fi. I love even though it's getting a little overdone. I love good, tragic, dystopian futures. There are a lot of bits and pieces here that something could have been done with, but it is not. There's a lot to explore on create some better uniforms for the Congressional Republic. Give us a little bit more background. Even if you have to do a longer scrolling thing like Star Wars at the beginning, give us something to understand the conflict. None of that. None of it seems nearly as important as getting good shots of Pam Anderson's cleavage in a tight outfit, and it ends up producing something that is completely unsatisfying. You don't get enough of the plot to really care. You get this jaded woman without a decent reason why she's so jaded. She hangs on to being this jaded woman when it's clearly the story of how she will come back to fighting for freedom. She doesn't do this until 15 steps past where she should have. At the very end, and worst of all, again, the thing that made her jaded was this stupid, pathetic, not even a nonsensical sort of thing. So there are all sorts of sort of near future sci-fi, near future post-apocalypse, near future American Civil War. A lot of these things could have been explored and something done with. And if you'd had a Lara Croft type character in there who was plausible as a warrior and as an actress, this whole thing could have worked better. But as it is, it completely tanks. I watched it out of morbid curiosity. I had not seen it back then, always wondered about it. It was available, so I watched it. And boy, I can at least say I saw it. It was awful. If you're a glutton for punishment, watch it and enjoy the torture. Barb Wire.